Brandon has had a very eventful week, actually. He's been kicked off of an airplane. He's sat behind the president tonight.
Yeah.
Had the president point him out several times. Had the vice president point him out several times. And so it's been a big week for you, Brandon. Tell us the highlights. What did I miss?
The highlights. Well, let's see. As you said, I got kicked off of an airline, American Airlines flight. I was banned by the airline from ever flying again.
Oh, forever flying again?
Well, apparently the ban is until such a time as passengers are no longer required to wear masks.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm banned for the time being.
But they let you on eventually.
Yes, and then they banned me after that.
Okay,
so I had
they're
to buy
a little
new plane.
indecisive.
They're not quite sure. I actually think we can work it out. I think we can work this out. But you did get here after all, and I had a great seat tonight. Got to see the rally. It was incredible, and great message. And it was just like a wonderful feeling. I felt like for everybody to be together again. I mean, MAGA's like a big family, you know. And I missed my family, and it felt like being at a huge reunion.
I know. We were used to seeing each other, pretty much all the time in either America's living room at the Trump International or somewhere, these kinds of things, and then to not see each other for so long, it was just really, really bizarre, right? So for you, this has been, I mean, you started the walkaway movement and really just tried to tell people, like, you don't have to believe that every 4 years when they come to you and divide you up into little pieces and tell you you need to be very afraid that your liberties are going to go away this election cycle if you don't vote for them, and then they forget about you for the next 4 years.
Sure.
You said that's not true.
Right.
And you've had how many people now join your movement?
So I have something really exciting to tell you. We're experiencing this enormous, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a second wave. We've had many waves, but we're having a huge wave right now. Unlike numbers unlike anything we've seen since we first started this thing. 20,000 new people just joined in the last 12 days, which is pretty enormous. And it's a very, very active, I mean, we're always very active, but it started as a testimonial campaign, if you'll recall, video testimonials, written testimonials. We have a huge wave of young people in their 20s that are joining right now and telling their stories, because I think that they're seeing, just like I did, 3 years ago when I walked away, I actually felt very pushed away because I felt like, I became a liberal because I care about other people, because I care about the country, because I care, but we're seeing that this is becoming more and more about anger, rage, hatred, and a distaste for our country and a distaste for our values. And so you have people out there right now smashing windows, looting, stealing, burning the country to the ground, pulling statues down. This is just for so many people not why they became liberals, not why they wanted to be a Democrat. And so I think that they're seeing now that not only has their party changed, but this party has changed. This is a very inclusive Republican Party. This is a very, we're all about diversity now and diversity of thought. And I think that's what people want, people crave. They want to be able to be civilized and talk to each other and have different ideas and and celebrate our differences. That's okay,
I don't know if this party's changed. I mean, I'm sure as the interviewer, I'm not really supposed to take you on, but I don't know if the Republican Party has changed, because, I mean, it is the party that did free the slaves, and it is the party that has always called itself the Big Tent, and it really has been, at least on paper, always, and not that there weren't people in the party that disagreed, but it's interesting, because really, if you look back at the history, it should have always, on paper at least, been the party of inclusion, and so it's good to see you sort of came along and spelled that out for people and said, you're welcome here, and this is what I see, and I see that party going the wrong direction. But man, even since you started Walkaway Movement, it seems to me like they've gone just off the deep end.
For sure. So as I said, I walked away 3 years ago, but even then I walked away because I thought it was too extreme for me. It is so much more extreme than it was even 3 years ago. Absolutely. And you made a really good point just a second ago, which I guess I'll pick up on and say, maybe not so much that the party has changed, but what has changed, I think, is that these different minority groups are starting to realize they do have a seat over here. I think that's what's really changed. Not so much maybe the Republicans or their policies, but that minorities in this country are waking up and they're saying, this is a choice that I can make. I can be a Republican. I can come over to the Big Tent. I think that's what we're seeing that's different, is that there's just more of us, more minorities coming.
And don't you think that this president, too, has made a concerted effort to invite people in?
Yeah, and tonight it was so cool, because tonight was so much about the black voices for Trump. There was representation all over, especially sort of in from the prayer to the pledge and a couple of the initial speeches. And I really love to see that. I love to see just the broad spectrum of voices that we have here in the Republican Party. It's really cool.
What's next for Walkaway?
Well, we have an amazing March on Washington that's coming up in October. That's the Unsilent Majority March on Washington, which will be October 3rd. We're going to have the American Women's Town Hall the night before, and I hope that you'll be there. We'll talk about that later offline. And then we're just going to continue as the states are opening up across the country to make sure that we're doing our town halls for the Black community, Hispanic community, LGBT community, touching everybody, letting them know that they have a choice. You can walk away. And we're just going to keep doing educational videos and put out great content.
I told him, I told Brandon that, he not only is a pioneer in the Walkaway movement, he's been a real pioneer of the Trump era, because what he did with the masks I thought was amazing, because, they're really not looking at medical data on those masks. They're going along with groupthink and conformity.
Right.
And I find it really interesting how easy it is to go from wearing a mask to wearing a face covering that looks to me like an Islamist, something that's very oppressive.
It's
so
true.
we'll see where this goes. But Brandon Straka, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Good to see you.